We asked the White House for a guest to address this topic. They declined, but we are joined by a close friend and ally of the president, Christopher Ruddy, the CEO of the conservative website Newsmax. He tweeted out this photo of the president yesterday down in Florida, and he joins us now from West Palm Beach. Mr. Ruddy, thank you for joining us this morning. It looks good down there. It looks at least like you have a sunny day down there. You spend a lot of time in Mar-a-Lago. You meet with the president a lot. And 2 weeks ago when he put out those tweets, here's what you wrote. You wrote, "I haven't seen him this pissed off in a long time. When I mentioned Obama's denials about the wiretaps, he shot back, 'This will be investigated. It will all come out. I will be proven right.' 15 days later, quite the opposite. So what is it going to take for the president to retract this statement?"
George, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on. I want to make clear I don't speak for the president. I run Newsmax. I'm an independent news agency. But I do think the press has been very unfair, and even the setup for this segment of me coming on. You know, there have been so many things for the press to discuss. Let's talk about the first 100 days of this presidency. Incredible record that the president has had. A-plus cabinet, jobs. He's creating tens of thousands of new jobs. Merkel, he had a really impressive meeting with her, probably got hundreds of billions of dollars in concessions from her, certainly an increase in the NATO budget, and the health care plan is coming. So when you come and say, oh, it's all about the wiretapping, et cetera, the president last night was with myself briefly and Alan Dershowitz, who, as you know, is not a supporter of the president. And the president was discussing that all of these leaks have taken place, classified meetings or conversations he had with the president of Mexico, the prime minister of Australia. General Flynn's private conversation was leaked. These are criminal acts. Even Alan Dershowitz said it was very, very serious stuff. But the press isn't talking about that.
We know he's upset about it. But wait a second, Chris. And I take your point about not being an official spokesperson for the president. The president sent out tweets that accused his predecessor of a felony, of doing something illegal. Mm-hmm. Since then, as I pointed out, and I don't think you say what I said in the page 2 may have been unfair. I don't think there was anything I said there that is untrue. And if you'd like to suggest that there is, you can say that. Well, but just let me just finish the question. What is it going to take, given all the evidence of what the president said is untrue, what is it going to take for him to retract and apologize?
So let's go back on the wiretapping. There were reports in the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the McClatchy papers that there were intercepts, or the administration had been monitoring the Trump campaign. The head of national intelligence for the Obama administration said that there was no collusion. They found absolutely no evidence of it. But clearly, reading those press reports, there was an investigation. So it would be hard to believe there was no surveillance whatsoever.
Wait, but that's not what the president.
You keep saying.
I'm talking about what the president tweeted. The president accused President Obama of illegally wiretapping.
Well, and the president said that he wants to have an investigation. And if you listen to what you said, it's pretty clear that there actually has never been an investigation of it, and that neither the House or the Senate committees have actually investigated. They just say, at this time, we don't have any evidence of it. But I think there's a bigger story here.
After being briefed by the FBI director, Chris, wait a second. You know that the president could simply ask his attorney general, he could ask his FBI director, he could ask the CIA director, he could ask the director of national intelligence. Everybody who's been briefed on this says there is no evidence. The president has not provided any evidence. There's been overwhelming evidence to the contrary. So, but I take it from your point that based on what you know right now, that as far as you can tell, the president is not going to retract or apologize.
Well, I don't speak for the president. You're going to have to ask him what his plan is on that. I do think that the press is harping on this. Look, there was a recent poll that showed that 54% of Americans believe that the press is too aggressive in their attacks on the president. We've never had a situation where the press has basically been part of an opposition political party.
We've never had a situation, Chris, where the president has accused his predecessor of a felony.
Well, I think that this is something that needs to be investigated. I'm waiting for the evidence just like you are on the allegation. So, but I do think when you look at the broader scope, you're not talking about any of the president's achievements. We've never had a president this successful using just the bully pulpit, getting companies all over the world to bring jobs. He's getting NATO countries to increase their budget, which would help save Americans money. And the health care plan, he was willing to tackle one of the most serious problems that we have in this country. And yet we're always focused on one little tweet or something like that. And I think the American people out in the heartland have a different view than people like you, George, in Washington.
That may be. But it's one little tweet that accused his predecessor of a felony. The FBI director coming to Capitol Hill tomorrow is going to publicly testify. As I said, we expect him to publicly challenge the president's tweets. How do you think the president will respond?
Well, I don't know what the FBI director is going to say, but I definitely think that they said that there was no collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. I think that, considering the amount of airtime the press has given this story over the past 4 or 5 months, I think that's a pretty powerful statement. And if the FBI director reaffirms that, I think that's a pretty powerful. Now, how they came to that conclusion without ever doing any surveillance or intercepts, we know that they did intercepts of General Flynn with the Russian ambassador, and that was leaked, and that was a highly classified conversation, as was the president's other conversations that were leaked. And there's no talk about that being investigated by the press or Congress.
We talk about all those issues. Let me just ask you, do you believe that President Obama ordered an illegal wiretap of President Trump?
I have no idea what President Obama did. I haven't investigated this thing myself. I do know there were press reports indicating that there was surveillance and that the administration was concerned about the Obama administration was concerned about possible ties between the Trump campaign and the Russians, and they found no evidence of it. But if that was true, it suggests that there might have been an investigation and that there may have been surveillance.
But you have no. So you're not willing to say right now whether you think it's true or not?
Well, again, I don't talk for the government of the United States, so I think that this is a question for the administration and the White House to answer.
Let me just ask one final question. You mentioned health care as well. You've actually been at odds a bit with the president on health care, even though you tout his successes right now. You wrote this week that Donald Trump staked out a high moral ground by calling for a feasible system of universal health care to replace Obamacare. He shouldn't retreat from that no matter how much the establishment GOP dislikes it. You're saying he should work with Democrats instead on a different kind of plan.
So I'm not at odds with the president that I know of. I believe that the president still wants universal health care and good quality coverage for everyone. He told me yesterday that the health plan that he will iron out with the House and Senate. It's going to be very positive and very strong. I have a problem with the House plan that was first proposed by Ryan. It looks like there's going to be serious amendments, but a lot of conservatives, almost all the conservative radio hosts, have opposed or criticized the Ryan plan. I have criticized it for its effort to reduce the number of people on Medicare and Medicaid. If you look at the savings, Medicaid costs about $4,000 a year per person. If those same people are pushed into private health insurance, their health expenses will go up to about $7,000 a year. That's a pretty big increase for about 10 million people that just recently joined the Medicaid rolls. So I'm sure these things are being worked out, and we're going to look. Before I make any final comment on it, but I think the president's intent here, and I really give him incredible amount of credit for tackling this issue. Most politicians would run away from this issue because it's such a hot potato, and he decided to move on it first.
Chris Ruddy, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.